Hello everybody and welcome to another top 5 board gaming video. Today's topic is all about manufacturing and building things. So specifically, this is about games where you are building up some kind of a manufacturing plant, like a factory or building something inside, something along those lines that you are then sending out into the world, or that is designed to be sent out into the world. It might not necessarily be in the game, but that's the implication. And so obviously this has very real world connections and real world ties because we've got factories that make stuff, and then that's how we get new stuff. That's just how it works. So it's an interesting thing because it's something that we do see sometimes in games where you are making resources or things like that, but in this case it's more specifically about we are making a product and then selling it or maintaining it because it's a victory point or whatever it is. So it's kind of a unique aspect that you don't see too often in this specific context. But that said, as always, I want to know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on my games? What are your thoughts on other games of the sort? Let me know anything and everything in the comments below. But with it, we're going to get right into my number 5. At number 5, I've got Fantastic Factories. This is a game that is reminiscent of things like Race for the Galaxy, where the idea is that you're trying to build up a tableau, and in this case you've got workers that are able to help you build up your blueprints to make new buildings and all of this kind of stuff, and you are making goods. So that's why this is so low on the list, because while it is manufacturing and you do have a lot of synergy between the different types of buildings you can make and dice rolling that you're doing, it's not something that's super specific, and it's not like you can make this or this or this or this, and it's not about necessarily planning around how you're making the whole manufacturing outfit work, but rather just building up an entire tableau of factory things. It still does have that feel of I need to make stuff, I need to hire people, and I've got workers though, so it makes the list at number 5. At number 4, I've got What's He Building in There? In this case, the manufacturing is a doomsday device. Because you're an evil scientist, and that's awesome because I'm a scientist and I want to build a doomsday device. The thing is that in this game, not only do you have the ability and the requirement to build a doomsday device, but you have to build the best doomsday device. And at the same time, you also have to not be so ridiculously eccentric and insane that you don't fit in with society and a bunch of this other stuff that you will see very commonly in movies and TV shows with the insane maniacal, like, I'm gonna blow up the world type of crazy mad scientists, technically mad engineers because they're the ones that build stuff. But regardless, it's a really fun kind of goofy game, but at the same time you've got a lot of great mechanics, from card drafting to worker placement to all sorts of different stuff, because you got your little minions working on different things, and you have to make sure that you're balancing everything out to make sure that you don't fall too far in society, but that your doomsday device is still doing well and all of this sort of thing. Everything at the end translates to victory points, which is great, but similarly to Fantastic Factories, while you are building something very specific, it's obviously very fantastical in the sense of it's a doomsday device from an evil mad genius. So not exceedingly likely to happen, but you never know, and so it is number 4. At number 3, I've got Brew Crafters, because it's about beer. And beer is great once you reach the age at which you can drink it. So the idea of this game is very similar to viticulture, actually, where the idea is that you've got your workers that you place, and you've got things like brewmasters and stuff like that. You're trying to make local craft brews, and in a very Euro heavy game style. And the idea is that the better your workers are, the better your planning is, the better your resources are, the better the brew you are going to make, and the more money you're potentially going to get. So this is the first game on the list where you have sort of the full-fledged going from the farm all the way to the market, trying to make a good quality item and stuff like that, and fulfill orders and things along those lines. Not to mention, it's about beer, and there's just not a lot of games that are about beer and stuff. That's why I said it is very similar to viticulture in that sense. So if you've played viticulture, then you have a similar feeling in the sense of a lot of specialized workers and different stuff like that that can give you boosts for very specific types of beer that you're making, like lagers, IPAs, and all of that kind of stuff. But that said, with all of it, Brewmasters is my number 3. At number 2, I've got Factory Fun. This one is on the list and so high for me personally because it's very reminiscent of some PC games that I like, namely Big Pharma. The idea of this game is that you have a set amount of space in which you are able to build your factory. So you need to be efficient about where and how you set up your machines. You got to make sure that you've got the proper outlet and inlet so that things can move along your factory line and all of this kind of stuff. And so it's more about literally planning out what a factory is going to look like and how it's going to function. So it's very, very fascinating in that sense because it's much more realistic in the way of, well guys, we've got this amount of space and we need all of these different components. How do we get them to fit together? So it's a tile placing / kind of tableau building game that is a lot of fun and requires a lot of logical play, which is something I greatly enjoy. And so it's very high on the list and a ton of fun. And I guess that's why it's called Factory Fun, my number 2. At number 1, I've got Smartphone Incorporated. This one is cool. Frankly, that's most of what I can say about it. It goes all the way from the very beginning to the very end. You are setting the prices, doing the manufacturing, getting the word out to the consumer to try to buy your particular product. You can sell your products for a low price so that you can make sure you can get a high volume, or you can raise up your prices and risk not selling as much but still make a greater profit. All of this kind of thing. You've got actions that everybody is picking simultaneously because everybody's putting down cards of what they want to do at a particular time, and it's just a truly fascinating thing to see because you'll also be making your actual manufacturing more efficient so it doesn't cost you as much to make the phones, and so that means that you can potentially afford to sell them for a little bit less so you get higher volume, and it just takes the entire economic aspect of vertical integration and all manufacturing into account. Not to mention, it's about smartphones, which are effectively ubiquitous in our society today. It is an incredible game, and on top of that, you can play it solo. So it is far and away my personal number 1. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for me. I hope that you enjoyed this video on my top 5 favorite manufacturing and building type of games. Now, again, this is something that does have a direct connection to the real world, and a lot of games touch on it, at least a little bit. You've got things like Power Grid, where, yeah, you're building up power plants and stuff, but it doesn't feel like you're building them. And you've got things like Suburbia where you're growing out and all of this sort of thing. But I digress. With the ones that I picked today, I wanted to have ones where you are actually going through some kind of a manufacturing process that includes placing down required elements that build specific pieces, and you go on and move forward from there and that kind of thing. Some of them obviously better than others, but regardless, as always, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this particular modality of game and this particular genre of game? Most often, these are going to be worker placements so that you can get the required resources or buildings or whatever it is, where and when you need them. And you're going to have some other things layered on top of that, but very, very often they're going to be worker placements, so you can have a lot of really cool options with it. So, what are your favorites? How do you like the genre? Let me know in the comments. And of course, if you haven't done so, take a look at my social media pages. You can interact with myself and my channel in a bunch of cool ways. As always, we are beating back COVID. We're still beating back COVID. We've got a bunch of vaccines out there. Everything is working, but please stay safe. Please be well. Hope that everybody is doing okay. Thank you so much as always for watching the video, and I will see you next time.